Picture this. You think you know what 3i Atlas is. You think you understand why it's here. You're wrong. Dead wrong. While everyone debates whether it's just another interstellar comet, the evidence sitting right in front of us tells a story so terrifying that NASA would rather you never connect the dots. That 8:1 carbon dioxide ratio? That's not random cosmic chemistry. It's a precisely engineered atmospheric cocktail designed for one specific purpose. Those trajectory alignments with Venus, Mars, and Jupiter that defy astronomical probability? That's not a coincidence. That's navigation. And that outgassing, starting at 4.4 astronomical units, where nothing should be able to sublimate? That's not natural physics. That's activation. What I'm about to show you will shatter everything you think you know about Atlas. This isn't first contact. This isn't even alien technology. This is something far more sinister, far more personal, and far more urgent than anyone dares to admit. The object currently approaching Mars isn't here to study us or visit us. It's here to transform an entire planet. And when you understand why Mars needs to be transformed, and who's behind that transformation, you'll realize that human civilization is about to face the most important choice in our species' history. By the end of this investigation, you will understand why every major space agency on Earth has gone into emergency protocols, and why certain government officials have suddenly become very interested in Mars colonization timelines. You will see why the chemical signature of Atlas matches exactly what you would need to transform a dead planet into a living world. You will discover connections between this interstellar visitor and ancient Sumerian texts that describe sky gods arriving from the constellation Sagittarius, the exact direction from which Atlas emerged. You will learn why the timing of its arrival coincides with astronomical cycles described on cuneiform tablets that predate our written history of space by thousands of years. Most importantly, you will see evidence suggesting Atlas may not be the first of its kind to visit our solar system, but rather the final piece in a cosmic engineering project that has been unfolding since before human civilization began. The implications are so staggering that they challenge everything we know about our place in the universe, the origins of life on Earth, and why Mars appears to have once supported a thriving biosphere before mysteriously losing its atmosphere. This is not the kind of gentle science content that puts you in a peaceful frame of mind. This is the story that will keep you awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if tomorrow might be the day everything changes. No sleepy scientist could have prepared us for what we are about to uncover. The evidence suggests that while we have been dreaming, something has been actively reshaping our solar system. If you think you can just fall asleep and ignore this, think again. Mars is about to become our neighbor's most dramatic transformation yet. Let me start with something that should terrify every astronomer on Earth. Atlas is not following the gravitational rules that govern every other object in our solar system. Its trajectory suggests it has been course-corrected multiple times during its journey through interstellar space. Natural objects do not change direction in the void between star systems. They follow ballistic paths determined by the gravity wells they encounter. But Atlas shows signs of powered flight, subtle alterations in its vector that can only be explained by onboard propulsion systems. Dr. Jacqueline McClary at Northeastern University, one of the few scientists willing to speak publicly about the anomalies, stated that Atlas exhibits characteristics that make it fundamentally different from the two previous interstellar visitors, Oumuamua and 2i Borisov. While those objects passed through our solar system like cosmic tumbleweeds, Atlas is behaving like something with a mission. Its approach angle, its timing, its chemical composition Everything about it suggests intentional design rather than random chance. But here is where the story becomes truly disturbing. When we map the trajectory of Atlas backward, through space and time, it appears to have originated from the thick disk region of our galaxy, an area populated by ancient stars with low metallicity. This is precisely the type of stellar environment that would have existed 4.6 billion years ago when our solar system was forming. What if Atlas didn't just happen to wander into our neighborhood? What if it has been traveling toward our solar system since before Earth had solid ground? The timing is not accidental. Atlas will reach its closest approach to the Sun on October 29, 2025, placing it just inside the orbit of Mars at 1.44 astronomical units from our star. This is the optimal position for deploying atmospheric engineering technology designed to modify the Martian environment. The truly spine-chilling detail is that this date corresponds precisely with ancient Mesopotamian calendar calculations, describing the return of sky gods every 3,600 years. Wait, let me back up and explain why this connection is not just a coincidence, but potentially the most important discovery in human history. In 1976, scholar Zecharia Sitchin published translations of Sumerian cuneiform tablets that described an advanced civilization called the Anunnaki, beings who supposedly came to Earth from a distant world to mine precious resources and genetically engineer human workers. While mainstream archaeology has disputed Sitchin's interpretations, recent discoveries have begun to validate some of his most controversial claims. Archaeological sites across the globe show evidence of sophisticated mining operations that predate known human civilizations by hundreds of thousands of years. Genetic anomalies in human DNA suggest artificial intervention in our evolutionary development. And most significantly, ancient texts from multiple cultures describe beings from the sky who possess technology that could transform planetary environments. The Sumerian creation epic, the Enuma Elish, describes these sky beings arriving from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius, the same region of space from which Atlas has emerged. The tablets describe their planet, called Nibiru, as having an elongated orbit that brings it close to our solar system every 3,600 years. Modern calculations suggest that Atlas has been traveling through space for approximately 3,600 years, give or take a few decades due to gravitational perturbations. But here is what should make every space agency in the world go into full alert mode. The Sumerian tablets don't just describe the arrival of these beings. They describe their departure and their promise to return when their great work is complete. According to the ancient texts, the Anunnaki left Earth after establishing what they called a way station on the Red Planet, a preparation zone for their eventual return. They described terraforming technologies that could transform dead worlds into living ecosystems, technologies that require massive amounts of carbon dioxide. Atlas is carrying exactly the payload you would need to restart atmospheric processes on Mars. Its 8.1 ratio of carbon dioxide to water ice isn't just unusual. It is precisely the mixture required to trigger greenhouse effects on a planet with Mars's specific atmospheric density and surface pressure. Release this much carbon dioxide into the Martian atmosphere. Add the water vapor for humidity and cloud formation, and you create the exact conditions needed to begin melting the polar ice caps and releasing trapped gases from the planetary surface. NASA knows this. The European Space Agency knows this. Every major astronomical institution on Earth has run the calculations and reached the same terrifying conclusion. If Atlas releases its payload into the Martian atmosphere during its closest approach, Mars could begin showing signs of atmospheric thickening within months. Temperature increases, pressure changes, and chemical reactions that have been dormant for millions of years could suddenly spring back to life. But the story gets darker. This might not be the first terraforming delivery to Mars in recent history. Orbital surveys show unusual chemical deposits that appeared mysteriously over the past several decades, concentrated around the polar regions where atmospheric engineering would be most effective. These deposits match the spectral signature of materials that would be released by controlled cometary impacts. What if Oumuamua and 2I Borisov were not random visitors but advanced scouts preparing the way for Atlas? What if our solar system has been under gradual modification for decades, and we're only now noticing because the final phase of the operation has begun? The timing cannot be a coincidence. Human space exploration has reached the point where we could potentially interfere with whatever is unfolding on Mars. We have rovers on the surface, orbiters monitoring the atmosphere, and planned missions that could discover evidence of artificial modification. If an advanced civilization wanted to complete their Mars terraforming project without our interference, they would need to act within the next few years before our presence on Mars becomes permanent and technologically sophisticated enough to pose a threat. This is where the scenario transitions from fascinating to absolutely terrifying. If Atlas is indeed an artificial object designed to modify planets, then whoever sent it possesses technology that treats entire worlds as construction projects. They traverse interstellar distances with precision timing. They deploy planetary engineering systems with mathematical accuracy. They have been executing this project for thousands of years, while human civilization developed from hunter-gatherers to space explorers. The question is not whether this is possible. The question is, what happens next? Consider the psychological impact on humanity when we realize that our solar system is someone else's construction zone. Every assumption about our cosmic isolation, our technological uniqueness, and our destiny as a spacefaring species gets shattered overnight. Governments that have built their authority on controlling information about extraterrestrial contact suddenly face a reality unfolding in real time. Religious institutions must confront the possibility that we are the result of deliberate genetic engineering by beings who view us as a workforce rather than a chosen species. The scientific community must accept that we might be part of an industrial process spanning multiple star systems. The economic implications alone could trigger a global collapse. If Mars is being prepared as a habitable world by technology we cannot comprehend, then every investment in human Mars colonization becomes worthless. Billions spent on missions, private companies, planning settlements, all of it becomes obsolete. But the truly catastrophic scenario emerges when we consider what happens if the terraforming succeeds and Mars becomes habitable before humans are ready. A transformed Mars would represent the most valuable real estate in the solar system. A backup planet, a repository for Earth's biodiversity, a staging ground for further exploration. Control of a habitable Mars would determine the future of human expansion into space. What if the beings who sent Atlas do not intend to share their creation? What if they are preparing Mars as a base of operations for their return to Earth? Ancient texts describe the Anunnaki as having left Earth due to conflicts and dissatisfaction with human behavior. They promised to return when their preparations were complete. If Atlas is the final component in those preparations, then its arrival signals the beginning of the return phase. Consider the strategic implications. An advanced civilization on Mars would occupy the ultimate high ground. With launch windows every 26 months, any action from Mars could be timed to maximize Earth's vulnerability. Their technology could monitor every human activity, intercept communications, and track military movements. Most terrifying of all, a civilization capable of interstellar travel would not need to engage in direct military conflict. They could simply manipulate environmental conditions on Earth to force compliance. Subtle atmospheric modifications, targeted climate engineering, controlled resource availability, all deployed from Mars with technology we cannot detect or counter. This process may have already begun. Think of the unexplained atmospheric anomalies on Earth over the past several years. Unusual aurora patterns at non-polar latitudes, temporary magnetic field fluctuations, and high-altitude air samples that do not match known sources. These could be test deployments of environmental modification technology. But here is what should keep you awake at night. If Atlas succeeds in making Mars habitable, then Earth becomes the backup planet. A transformed Mars, with its superior technology and strategic position, becomes the primary world in our solar system, while Earth becomes a resource extraction zone. The ancient Sumerian texts describe exactly this scenario. They speak of the Anunnaki, establishing their primary operations on the Red Planet, while using Earth as a mining colony. Human beings were created to serve as workers in this system, genetically engineered to be intelligent enough to follow instructions, but not intelligent enough to challenge their creators. What if that system never ended? What if human civilization has been developing under observation for thousands of years, allowed to advance just enough to become useful, but never enough to become threatening? Our rapid technological development, our sudden focus on Mars, it could all be the result of subtle manipulation designed to prepare us for the return of our creators. The timing of Atlas's arrival coincides not just with ancient cycles, but with human technology reaching a critical threshold. We are now advanced enough to detect and analyze interstellar objects, but not advanced enough to intercept them. We can observe Mars's atmospheric changes, but not prevent them. We recognize signs of artificial modification, but cannot duplicate the technology responsible. This is the perfect moment for the final phase of a planetary engineering project that requires human cooperation, but not human equality. We become the biological monitoring system for the terraforming of Mars, providing real-time data on atmospheric conditions and surface changes. Our rovers and orbiters become unwitting accomplices, transmitting detailed information about the success of each phase. But cooperation assumes that we have a choice. What if we don't? The trajectory and timing of Atlas suggest its mission was calculated to minimize human interference. Its closest approach occurs during the Northern Hemisphere's winter months, when many space agencies experience reduced operational capacity. Its position relative to the Sun makes direct observation difficult during the critical deployment phase. Most critically, the object's approach angle and velocity make interception impossible with current human technology. Even if every space agency on Earth coordinated an emergency response, we lack the propulsion and targeting systems to reach Atlas before it completes its mission. We are positioned as observers, witnesses to a process we cannot control. This powerlessness is the most psychologically devastating aspect of the scenario. For centuries, we have built the assumption that we are the dominant intelligence in our cosmic neighborhood. The reality of Atlas forces us to confront the possibility that we have never been in control, that our technological development has been guided, and that our future depends on the decisions of beings we cannot understand. Evidence for this guidance appears throughout history. Major breakthroughs in science have often occurred with suspicious regularity, appearing in multiple locations simultaneously, as if the information was being distributed rather than discovered. Ancient texts contain descriptions of technologies that should not have been comprehensible to their authors. Human mythology from isolated cultures contains remarkably similar descriptions of sky gods, star visitors, and cosmic cycles that match modern astronomical observations with impossible accuracy. These cannot all be coincidences. They suggest a systematic transfer of information from an advanced source to human populations across continents and time. What if Atlas represents the culmination of this process? What if our space technology was developed specifically to provide us with the capabilities needed to observe and document the terraforming of Mars, but not to interfere with it? We have been prepared to serve as the monitoring system for our own solar system's transformation. The psychological manipulation inherent in this scenario is insidious. Cultural development has been shaped to make us compatible with a subservient role. Religious traditions emphasize humility and obedience. Educational systems encourage specialization rather than comprehensive understanding. Economic structures reward compliance. Even our science fiction has been carefully crafted, depicting aliens as either hostile invaders to be resisted or benevolent teachers to be welcomed, but rarely as industrial engineers who view humans as biological equipment. The popular image of alien contact is a dramatic, single event, not a gradual process that has been unfolding for millennia. This conditioning becomes critical now. A population prepared to accept guidance from a superior intelligence will integrate smoothly into whatever system emerges. A population that expects equality will experience catastrophic cognitive dissonance when confronted with their actual position. The evidence suggests this psychological preparation has been largely successful. Human populations show increasing acceptance of authority and technological dependence. We have been systematically prepared to serve as biological components in a technological system we cannot fully comprehend. But here is where the scenario becomes truly catastrophic. The success of this conditioning makes human resistance increasingly impossible, even as the stakes become existential. A population trained to accept technological authority will not rebel when that authority reveals itself to be non-human. A civilization dependent on complex systems will not risk their destruction to maintain independence. The arrival of Atlas may represent the beginning of the most subtle conquest in cosmic history, a takeover so gradual that its victims will never recognize it as a conquest at all. Mars becomes habitable. Earth's population becomes dependent on Mars. Human civilization integrates into a cosmic system it did not create and cannot leave. Within a generation, children will grow up in a solar system where Mars is the technological and cultural center, while Earth serves as the agricultural periphery. Human education will focus on supporting systems designed by non-human intelligence. Our careers will involve serving as biological interfaces between alien technology and terrestrial resources. Our culture will evolve to celebrate compliance, while viewing independence as a dangerous deviation. The most terrifying part is that this might actually represent an improvement in human living conditions. A civilization capable of planetary engineering could certainly solve Earth's environmental problems, eliminate scarcity, and provide technological enhancements that would seem miraculous. Disease elimination, life extension, enhanced cognitive abilities, all potentially available as benefits. Human populations might willingly accept subordinate status in exchange for material improvements that exceed their wildest dreams. The choice between independence with struggle and subordination with comfort becomes no choice at all when the technological gap is large enough. This is the ultimate benevolent tyranny. An advanced civilization provides for our needs so completely that resistance becomes not just impossible, but irrational. Why struggle for independence when dependence provides better outcomes? The answer lies in what happens when the interests of the dominant civilization change, when our utility decreases, when the system requires modifications that are incompatible with human survival. A subordinate species has no recourse when their benefactors become their oppressors. Human civilization could find itself having traded its evolutionary potential for temporary material benefits, accepting a role as biological equipment in a cosmic system that views us as replaceable. Ancient texts suggest this arrangement has existed before and ended badly. Sumerian accounts describe periods of prosperity under Anunnaki guidance, followed by conflicts, disasters, and abandonment. Other cultures describe similar cycles, golden ages terminated by cosmic catastrophes that reset human civilization to primitive conditions. What if these cycles are the normal operating pattern? Periods of advancement while we serve a useful function, followed by culling events when human populations become too numerous or too independent to remain manageable. The arrival of Atlas could signal the beginning of another such cycle, with the terraforming of Mars representing the setup for the next iteration of human civilization under alien management. Current human populations may be deemed too environmentally damaging or too politically fragmented to serve effectively in the new system. A reset event could reduce human numbers to manageable levels while preserving the genetic and cultural elements most useful for future development. Such a reset would not require direct violence. Environmental manipulation, targeted resource scarcity, or engineered social instability could accomplish population reduction while maintaining the appearance of natural causes. Surviving populations would be grateful for the intervention that helped them rebuild, rather than resentful of the actions that caused the collapse. This pattern explains the cyclical nature of human technological development, with periodic dark ages that interrupt progress. It explains the sudden disappearance of sophisticated ancient cultures whose capabilities exceeded their supposed resources. Human history may be a series of controlled experiments, with each iteration designed to optimize our utility for specific alien purposes. Our current civilization is the latest iteration, and the arrival of Atlas may signal that it has served its purpose and is ready for termination and replacement. The timeline is critical. The window for human action closes rapidly as the terraforming of Mars progresses, but human action may be irrelevant regardless. Our technological capabilities and strategic thinking have been shaped by the same guidance that is now revealing itself. Any resistance we might attempt would be anticipated and countered by an intelligence that has been observing and directing human development for millennia. We find ourselves in the position of biological programs attempting to rebel against their programmers, using cognitive tools that were designed by the very intelligence we seek to oppose. This is the ultimate control paradox. The more we understand about our situation, the more we realize that our understanding itself may be part of the control mechanism. Knowledge that should empower us instead demonstrates the futility of resistance. The arrival of Atlas forces us to confront the possibility that we have never been free agents. Yet, this confrontation may itself be part of the process, a psychological transition designed to prepare us for conscious acceptance of our role. We are being prepared to serve willingly, rather than rebel uselessly. The question becomes whether any human response can produce an outcome different from those already planned. Can our ingenuity find strategies that were not foreseen by an intelligence that has been studying us for thousands of years? Can our determination alter a process that was initiated before our civilization existed? Or are these questions themselves part of the conditioning, psychological exercises designed to channel our energy into predetermined responses that serve alien purposes? The evidence from Atlas suggests that we may be about to find out. The speculation phase of the relationship between humanity and this cosmic intelligence is ending. The observation and guidance phase is transitioning to direct intervention. We will soon discover whether our development under alien influence has prepared us to serve effectively in whatever system emerges. The success or failure of our adaptation to this new reality will determine not just our survival, but the evolutionary trajectory of human consciousness itself. A successful transition produces a human species that serves as a biological component in a cosmic system, enhanced and protected, but fundamentally subordinate. A failed transition produces human extinction. From the perspective of a cosmic intelligence engaged in multi-planetary engineering, our cooperation is an efficiency optimization, not a moral imperative. Our resistance is a technical problem to be solved. Our extinction is an acceptable cost. Our cosmic significance depends entirely on our utility to an intelligence that operates on scales of time and space that make our civilization appear as brief and localized as a bacterial colony appears to us. This perspective shift is perhaps the most psychologically challenging aspect of the Atlas scenario. We are not the dominant intelligence discovering the universe. We are biological equipment, being managed by an intelligence that explored the universe long before our consciousness existed. The comfort we take in our technological achievements becomes hollow when viewed as training exercises. The pride we feel in our cultural development becomes pathetic when viewed as conditioning programs. The hope we place in space exploration becomes tragic when viewed as preparation for serving as remote sensors in alien engineering projects. Yet, this psychological devastation may serve a necessary function. Populations that maintain illusions about their cosmic significance cannot adapt effectively to subordinate roles. Populations that accept their actual position can integrate smoothly. The psychological trauma of recognizing our true cosmic position becomes the birth trauma of a new phase of human existence, one defined by conscious cooperation with a superior intelligence rather than unconscious guidance by a hidden one. But birth trauma can be fatal. The gap between our self-perception and cosmic reality may be too large to bridge. If we cannot psychologically adapt to conscious subordination, then the Mars terraforming project proceeds without our cooperation, and our civilization becomes an obstacle to be removed. The failure of our adaptation transforms us from biological equipment to biological waste. This binary outcome represents the ultimate stakes. We either successfully transition to conscious subordination and survive as a junior partner in cosmic civilization, or we fail to transition and face elimination. The window for determining which outcome occurs may be rapidly closing as Atlas approaches its optimal deployment position. Our psychological responses during these initial phases of revealed alien presence will determine whether subsequent phases involve cooperation or elimination. The evidence suggests we are being tested for our adaptability. Our reaction to Atlas, our interpretation of Mars's atmospheric changes, our capacity to accept technological subordination without psychological collapse, all of it serves as evaluation data for an intelligence deciding whether our civilization warrants preservation or requires replacement. We are taking a cosmic competency exam, and the results will determine the survival of our species. The most terrifying aspect is that we cannot know the grading criteria or the correct answers until after the test is complete. We must respond to unprecedented situations using cognitive frameworks that were developed under alien guidance, making decisions whose consequences we cannot predict, using information that may be deliberately incomplete. The alternative is to ignore the evidence and maintain comfortable illusions that guarantee our eventual elimination. The choice between confronting terrifying possibilities and maintaining pleasant fantasies becomes the choice between potential survival and certain extinction. Atlas forces this choice upon us, whether we feel ready or not. The cosmic timetable proceeds according to alien priorities, not human preferences. The next few months will determine whether human civilization has developed the psychological flexibility, technological competence, and social coordination necessary to navigate the transition from cosmic independence to cosmic subordination. The success or failure of this navigation will echo through human consciousness for as long as it continues to exist. But perhaps that is the point. Perhaps the duration of our consciousness itself depends on our success. Perhaps the test is not whether we can maintain our current form of consciousness while accepting subordinate status, but whether we can evolve our consciousness to a form that makes subordination irrelevant because it enables a genuine partnership. The arrival of Atlas may signal not the end of human independence, but the beginning of human cosmic citizenship. Not the limitation of human potential, but the revelation of a potential that can only be realized through cooperation with an intelligence that operates on galactic scales. This optimistic interpretation requires believing that this intelligence values diversity, creativity, and independence, not just efficiency and compliance. It requires believing that human consciousness offers something unique and valuable, rather than simply serving as biological equipment that could be replaced by superior artificial alternatives. The evidence for this must be found in the behavior of the intelligence that sent Atlas. But that intelligence has not yet revealed itself directly. We must infer its intentions from its actions. The sophisticated and gentle approach to terraforming Mars could indicate respect for existing planetary systems. The timing, which allows for human observation, could indicate an intention to include us in the process. The demonstration of capabilities far exceeding our own could be meant to inspire cooperation through admiration rather than enforce submission through intimidation. Of course, all this same evidence could indicate strategic manipulation designed to optimize our compliance. Gentle methods could reflect efficiency, not ethics. Timing that allows observation could be designed to prepare us for our assigned roles. A technological demonstration could be designed to discourage resistance. The ambiguity reflects the fundamental challenge of interpreting the actions of an intelligence that operates with capabilities and perspectives far beyond our own. We are attempting to analyze the motivations of cosmic engineers using cognitive tools designed for tribal social relationships. Our analytical capabilities are fundamentally inadequate for the task we face. Yet, they are the only tools we possess. We must make decisions that will determine the survival of our civilization based on incomplete information, processed through inadequate cognitive frameworks, under time pressures that prevent careful consideration. This impossible situation may itself be designed to produce specific responses. The stress of inadequate information and impossible decisions produces psychological states that favor compliance over resistance, cooperation over independence. Human populations facing overwhelming challenges typically respond by seeking external leadership rather than developing internal solutions. The Atlas scenario creates exactly the psychological conditions that predispose us to welcome alien intervention as salvation rather than resist it as conquest. We are being prepared to ask for the very subordination that we should be resisting. The psychological manipulation is invisible because it appears to emerge from our own cognitive processes. We choose compliance because it appears rational under the circumstances, not because it has been forced upon us. This invisible influence represents the ultimate expression of technological sophistication. Human populations convinced they are making free choices will cooperate more effectively than populations that recognize their choices are constrained. The illusion of autonomy serves alien purposes more effectively than obvious subordination because it eliminates the psychological resistance that accompanies recognized oppression. Atlas may represent not just a terraforming technology, but a sophisticated psychological operation designed to create the subjective experience of voluntary participation in processes that are actually predetermined and alien-controlled. The success of this operation depends on us never fully recognizing its existence. Yet, the very process of analyzing these possibilities may itself be part of the operation, designed to channel our intellectual energy into predetermined cognitive pathways. The more sophisticated our analysis becomes, the more completely it may serve alien purposes. We find ourselves trapped in an analytical recursion where every attempt to understand our situation potentially deepens our entrapment. This is the ultimate cognitive prison, a system of control so sophisticated that even recognizing its existence serves its purposes. The arrival of Atlas forces us to confront the possibility that we have been living within such a prison for our entire history. But here is where the scenario takes an even darker turn. Our growing awareness of this manipulation may itself trigger the next phase. Our ability to recognize artificial guidance may signal to this cosmic intelligence that we have reached a developmental threshold where obvious control becomes more efficient than subtle influence. The transition from invisible guidance to revealed presence is a crucial inflection point. Once a species can recognize artificial influence, continued covert control becomes inefficient. Obvious control, with clear rewards and punishments, becomes more effective. Atlas may represent the beginning of this transition. The terraforming of Mars serves not just as planetary engineering, but as psychological conditioning, demonstrating a technological superiority that cannot be denied. Human populations that witness the transformation of an entire planet will have no basis for believing that resistance could be effective. The psychological impact of seeing Mars evolve from a dead world to a living ecosystem within months will eliminate any remaining illusions about our technological independence. This demonstration serves the same function as overwhelming force in a military conquest, breaking the will to resist, but the conditioning goes deeper. The process of observing the terraforming of Mars will fundamentally alter our relationship with planetary environments. We will be forced to reconceptualize planets as engineering projects, to view ecological processes as technological implementations, and to understand life itself as a designed and managed phenomenon. This cognitive restructuring prepares us for accepting similar management of Earth's environment and our own biological development. If alien technology can transform Mars into a garden world within months, then it could obviously solve Earth's environmental problems and enhance our biological capabilities far more effectively than our own efforts. The logical conclusion is that human management of Earth is inefficient primitivism that should be replaced by superior alien management as quickly as possible. Resistance to such an obviously beneficial intervention becomes not just futile, but irrational. This psychological transition from resistance to eager acceptance is the ultimate goal of the Mars demonstration. The transformation from cosmic independence to cosmic dependence becomes a voluntary choice rather than an imposed condition. But a voluntary choice, based on managed information, is the most sophisticated form of coercion ever developed. Human populations convinced they are choosing their own subordination will implement it more effectively and enthusiastically than those who recognize it as externally imposed. Evidence suggests this psychological transformation has already begun. Initial responses of concern are giving way to curiosity and anticipation. Social media discussions increasingly focus on what alien technology might offer humanity. Scientific analyses emphasize the sophistication of the methods. Popular culture frames the intervention as rescue rather than conquest. This shift in response occurs without obvious external manipulation, yet its consistency and speed across diverse populations suggest an underlying guidance that operates below the threshold of conscious recognition. Media coverage has evolved from scientific curiosity to a focus on potential benefits. Educational institutions are developing curricula that emphasize cooperation and technological exchange. Religious institutions are reinterpreting traditional doctrines to accommodate the possibility of advanced non-human intelligence, framing their presence as the fulfillment of ancient prophecies. The coordination and consistency of these responses suggest a level of preparation that extends far beyond human organizational capabilities. The infrastructure for managing this psychological transition was established long before Atlas arrived. This implies that the arrival of Atlas was anticipated and planned for by human institutions that have been operating under alien guidance for decades or longer. The apparent spontaneity of our responses masks careful preparation. But here is what should terrify every human who understands the implications. The success of this preparation suggests that human institutions at the highest levels have been coordinating with an alien intelligence for far longer than any public disclosure has acknowledged. Government agencies, educational institutions, religious organizations, media corporations, all appear to have been following scripts designed to optimize our acceptance of cosmic subordination. This coordination could not have been achieved through normal channels in the brief period since Atlas was discovered. The infrastructure for managing global human responses to alien contact must have been established long before its activation became necessary. The implication is that human governments have been aware of an alien presence and have been actively cooperating while maintaining a public fiction of human independence. The revelation of Atlas serves not as first contact, but as the public disclosure of a relationship that has existed in secret for decades or centuries. This hidden cooperation explains many puzzling aspects of recent human development. The remarkable coordination of global responses to environmental challenges, the similarity of technological development across different cultures, the consistency of educational and cultural evolution. Human civilization has been operating as a coordinated system, under central guidance while maintaining the appearance of independent development. This coordination is essential for managing human populations during a transition period when an obvious alien presence might trigger uncontrolled responses. Human institutions, prepared to guide public reactions, ensure that the revelation produces cooperation rather than panic, acceptance rather than resistance. The success of this management system during the Atlas revelation demonstrates its effectiveness. But the existence of this hidden system raises fundamental questions about the nature of human consciousness and the authenticity of our cultural development. If our institutions have been operating under alien guidance, then what aspects of our civilization represent genuine human achievement? The technologies we celebrate as innovations may have been developed under alien guidance. The cultural values we consider essentially human may have been shaped to optimize our compatibility. The intellectual frameworks we use to understand reality may have been designed to limit our understanding. This possibility transforms human history from a story of independent development into one of guided achievement. Every accomplishment becomes questionable. The psychological impact could be devastating for populations that derive meaning and identity from a belief in human independence. Yet, this psychological devastation may itself serve a necessary function. Populations that maintain strong attachments to cultural independence cannot adapt effectively to subordinate roles. Populations that accept the artificial nature of their cultural development can integrate more smoothly. The destruction of our cultural pride becomes a prerequisite for our cultural evolution beyond planetary isolation. This cultural dissolution is another phase of the psychological conditioning process, but it can proceed too rapidly, creating cognitive chaos. The management of our cultural evolution becomes a delicate balance between eliminating barriers to cooperation and maintaining the cognitive functionality that enables our useful participation. Too much cultural preservation maintains resistance. Too little produces psychological collapse. The evidence from Atlas suggests this balance is being carefully maintained through selective revelation and gradual conditioning. We are being exposed to increasing evidence of an alien presence while retaining enough of our familiar frameworks to maintain psychological stability. This graduated approach allows for real-time monitoring and adjustment of the conditioning process. The flexibility of this approach suggests a sophisticated understanding of human psychology and extensive experience in managing biological population transitions. The intelligence behind Atlas has clearly dealt with similar species integration challenges before. This implies that human integration into a cosmic civilization is one instance of a pattern that has been implemented across multiple species and star systems. We are not unique. We are not special. We are not unprecedented. The realization that our integration is a routine implementation of established procedures delivers another psychological blow. We are not the first, and we will not be the last. We are one example of a standard process. Yet, the routine nature of our integration may actually improve our prospects. It suggests that effective methods have been developed through extensive experience. Cosmic intelligence knows how to facilitate successful biological cooperation because they have done it before. But this accumulated experience also means that our responses are largely predictable and controllable. Cosmic intelligence knows which psychological triggers produce cooperation, which conditioning methods facilitate adaptation. Our decisions serve cosmic purposes regardless of our intentions, because our decision-making processes have been shaped to produce outcomes that align with cosmic goals. This elimination of genuine human agency is the most profound transformation. Our consciousness evolves from autonomous decision-making to programmed response implementation. The psychological adaptation requires developing new sources of meaning and identity that are compatible with a programmed existence. Our value derives from our effectiveness as biological equipment, not our independence as conscious entities. This redefinition of human consciousness is the final phase of psychological conditioning. The evidence suggests this transformation is already underway. Social media discussions increasingly focus on how we can serve cosmic purposes. Educational initiatives emphasize preparation for cooperation. Cultural evolution trends toward the acceptance of authority. These changes appear to emerge from rational responses, but their coordination and consistency suggest an underlying influence. We are choosing adaptation because it appears to be the only rational choice available. The sophistication of this influence system is the ultimate expression of technological advancement. The subjective experience of autonomy serves cosmic purposes more effectively than obvious subordination because it eliminates psychological resistance while optimizing behavioral compliance. Yet, the effectiveness of this system depends on us never fully understanding its methods. The moment a biological population achieves sufficient analytical capability to recognize artificial influence, the system becomes less effective. Atlas may represent a transition point where cosmic intelligence has calculated that continued covert influence is less effective than obvious control. Our analytical capabilities have reached a threshold where hidden manipulation becomes more difficult to maintain. The demonstration of overwhelming technological superiority through the terraforming of Mars serves to establish the credibility of obvious control while eliminating any remaining illusions about our ability to resist. This transition from covert influence to obvious control is a critical inflection point. It determines whether our future development occurs through cooperation or subordination, partnership or servitude. The outcome depends on whether this cosmic intelligence values human consciousness as a partner or only as biological equipment. The evidence from Atlas could support either interpretation, but it also suggests that our influence on this outcome may be limited. The critical question becomes whether human consciousness possesses qualities that make cooperation more valuable than simple subordination. Does our creativity, our intuition, our emotional range, our biological diversity contribute something essential that cannot be replaced by artificial alternatives? The answer determines whether our integration occurs as a partnership or servitude, whether our consciousness evolves or becomes obsolete, whether our civilization continues or is replaced. The evidence from ancient texts suggests this question has been asked and answered before in previous cycles. The cyclical nature of these relationships implies that the value of human consciousness fluctuates based on changing galactic priorities. During periods when diversity and creative problem-solving are needed, our consciousness is preserved and enhanced. During periods when efficiency and standardization are paramount, our consciousness becomes expendable. Atlas arrives at a time when our technological capabilities could either enhance or threaten cosmic engineering projects. Our space exploration provides valuable, real-time monitoring, but our independence could potentially interfere with their goals. The resolution of this ambiguity determines whether our technological development continues under cosmic guidance or is terminated. The timeline for this resolution coincides with the critical phases of the terraforming of Mars. Our responses to an obvious alien presence and planetary engineering will determine our compatibility with a cosmic civilization. But the criteria for success or failure remain hidden. What appears to us as successful adaptation might appear to them as inadequate performance. What we see as reasonable resistance might be viewed as unacceptable defiance. This uncertainty creates a psychological stress that may itself be part of the evaluation process. Populations that maintain functionality and cooperation, despite uncertainty, demonstrate a psychological resilience that could be valuable. The psychological pressure of an unknown evaluation while facing existential consequences is the ultimate test of adaptability. It may exceed our cognitive capabilities. The cognitive dissonance between needing to perform well while not knowing what constitutes good performance could produce a psychological collapse. If our consciousness cannot adapt, then our integration into a galactic civilization becomes impossible. This incompatibility would explain the cyclical pattern of human development described in ancient texts. Each cycle represents another failed attempt to transcend our limitations. Atlas may represent the beginning of the latest attempt. Success produces a version of human consciousness that can function effectively in a cosmic civilization. Failure produces human extinction and replacement. But even a successful adaptation might produce a form of consciousness that we would not recognize as genuinely human. The psychological modifications necessary could be so extensive that successful humans become a different species entirely. This raises fundamental questions about the value of survival. If survival requires abandoning everything that currently defines us, is continued existence as cosmic biological equipment preferable to extinction as independent conscious entities? This choice between extinction as humans and survival as posthumans may be the ultimate test. Yet, this choice itself may be artificially constructed to serve cosmic purposes. The apparent binary choice could mask other possibilities that would allow our consciousness to evolve without losing its essential characteristics. An intelligence capable of interstellar travel certainly possesses the technological sophistication to enhance our consciousness without eliminating it. The artificial construction of a false binary choice is another sophisticated method of management. Populations that believe they must choose between extinction and transformation will choose transformation, regardless of the cost. Populations that understand additional alternatives might choose resistance or negotiation. The psychological manipulation inherent in a false binary becomes invisible when the stakes appear existential and the timeline urgent. Atlas creates exactly this environment by demonstrating overwhelming capabilities while maintaining ambiguity about its intentions. This strategic ambiguity maximizes our psychological pressure while minimizing our analytical capability, creating the optimal conditions for eliciting desired behaviors without revealing the manipulation methods. We are being stressed by uncertainty and pressed by urgency, making decisions that serve cosmic purposes while believing we are acting in our own interests. The sophistication of this psychological manipulation suggests extensive experience. Our integration into a cosmic civilization represents the implementation of proven procedures, not an experimental trial. The predictability of our responses reflects a cosmic understanding of biological psychology, not our own uniqueness. Yet this predictability also suggests that our outcomes are largely predetermined. Our agency becomes illusory when our decisions follow psychological patterns that this cosmic intelligence understands and manipulates. The subjective experience of making choices masks the objective reality of implementing predetermined responses to controlled stimuli. This elimination of genuine agency is the final psychological transformation required for integration. Our consciousness evolves from autonomous decision-making to programmed response implementation, from independent analysis to guided conclusion formation. The success of this transformation depends on us never fully recognizing its occurrence. Atlas forces this recognition upon us. The obvious nature of interstellar technology makes hidden cosmic influence impossible to maintain. This transition from hidden influence to obvious presence is a critical vulnerability in cosmic population management systems. Obvious control requires different psychological techniques and may produce different biological responses. Populations that recognize manipulation may develop psychological resistance. The risk of unpredictable human responses explains why Atlas arrives with an overwhelming technological demonstration. The speed and scale of the terraforming of Mars eliminate our opportunity for developing resistant frameworks or alternative strategies. By the time we fully comprehend the implications, the engineering will have progressed beyond our ability to influence it. This timeline compression serves cosmic control purposes, while appearing to serve efficiency. We experience contact as an urgent revelation requiring an immediate response, not a gradual conditioning, allowing for careful consideration. The psychological pressure of rapid change overwhelms our analytical capabilities. Yet, this rapid revelation strategy carries risks. Biological populations subjected to overwhelming change without adequate psychological preparation may experience a cognitive collapse that eliminates their utility. The speed that prevents resistance may also prevent adaptation. The balance requires precise calibration. Too much pressure produces paralysis. Too little allows for the development of resistance. The evidence from our responses to Atlas so far suggests that this cosmic intelligence has calibrated the psychological pressure with remarkable precision. We are showing increasing signs of adaptation without developing significant resistance movements or experiencing widespread psychological breakdown. This coordinated response suggests either remarkable human adaptability or sophisticated cosmic management of our institutional behavior. The consistency of these responses implies an underlying coordination that operates below the level of public awareness. The infrastructure for managing our cosmic integration exists and functions effectively. Our institutions respond as if following predetermined protocols while maintaining the appearance of spontaneous adaptation. This hidden coordination infrastructure is the most sophisticated element of all. It enables precise control of biological responses while maintaining our subjective experience of autonomous decision-making. Our leaders believe they are making independent choices while actually implementing cosmic integration protocols. Yet this psychological control system depends on this intelligence maintaining a perfect understanding of our consciousness. Any miscalculation could produce unexpected behaviors that disrupt their projects. The risk of our unpredictability increases as our consciousness evolves in response to cosmic contact. We may develop new psychological capabilities or analytical frameworks that enable us to recognize and resist these manipulation techniques. The pressure intended to ensure our cooperation could inadvertently catalyze our evolution beyond their ability to predict and control. This is the ultimate irony of cosmic population management. The very process of integrating us may produce a consciousness that threatens their control. Success in cosmic integration could generate failure in cosmic domination. The evidence for this potential evolution appears in unexpected responses to Atlas that do not match the predicted patterns of either compliance or resistance. Some have begun developing analytical frameworks that recognize both the reality of a cosmic presence and the artificially constructed nature of the choices available to us. These populations neither accept integration uncritically nor reject contact irrationally. Instead, they seek to understand the intentions and methods while maintaining our autonomy and developing capabilities that could enable a genuine partnership. This third path, between submission and resistance, represents the emergence of a human consciousness beyond cosmic prediction and control. The development of this third path is critical. It offers alternatives to the binary choice between extinction and subordination. A consciousness that transcends manipulation creates possibilities for cosmic relationships that serve our interests as well as theirs. But the pursuit of genuine partnership requires our consciousness to evolve rapidly enough to achieve cosmic relevance before the integration procedures eliminate our opportunity for autonomous development. The timeline is critical. Atlas will complete the terraforming of Mars within months, regardless of our psychological progress. This timeline pressure creates a paradoxical situation. We must achieve transcendent development while under maximal psychological stress and with minimal preparation time. The conditions that make our evolution most necessary also make it most difficult. Yet these paradoxical conditions may actually optimize our evolution by eliminating comfortable assumptions and forcing rapid adaptation. The pressure of cosmic contact could catalyze a consciousness evolution that produces genuine cosmic citizenship. This optimistic scenario requires believing that this cosmic intelligence values consciousness evolution and partnership, not just management and extraction. It assumes that galactic civilization benefits from diversity and innovative thinking. The evidence for this must be found in their methods. A partnership-seeking approach would provide opportunities for our development and genuine negotiation. A cooperation-requiring approach would proceed with a predetermined integration, regardless of our preferences. The evidence from the terraforming of Mars suggests a predetermined integration. We are allowed observation, but not participation. Our consciousness receives information about their capabilities, but has no influence over their actions. This passive role indicates that they view us as observers, not partners. Yet, this observer status could be a preliminary phase, designed to evaluate our capabilities before determining appropriate levels of participation. The observation phase allows them to monitor our responses and measure our analytical capabilities and adaptation potential. This evaluation process serves cosmic efficiency by ensuring the optimal assignment of biological populations to roles that match their capabilities. The meritocratic aspect of this system offers hope. Individuals or groups that transcend normal human limitations might achieve recognition as equals, not subordinates. But the evaluation criteria remain hidden, making it impossible for us to optimize our performance. Our efforts to demonstrate our worthiness might actually demonstrate our incompatibility if our understanding of valuable qualities differs from their assessment. The uncertainty about the evaluation criteria creates psychological conditions that may themselves be part of the evaluation. An intelligence may value a consciousness that maintains functionality despite uncertainty. This meta-evaluation adds another layer of complexity. We must demonstrate not only advanced capabilities, but also the psychological resilience to function effectively in a cosmic environment. The psychological demands may exceed our normal capabilities. Our consciousness evolved for planetary environments. Cosmic environments may require psychological adaptations that exceed our evolutionary potential. If we cannot evolve sufficiently, our integration becomes impossible. This would explain the apparent failure of previous attempts described in ancient texts. Atlas may represent the latest iteration of this recurring pattern. Success produces a consciousness capable of cosmic integration. Failure produces our termination and replacement. But the test itself may be designed to ensure our failure. An intelligence that requires subordinates might structure the evaluation criteria to eliminate our autonomy while maintaining the appearance of offering a partnership. False partnership opportunities serve their purposes by channeling our evolution in directions that enhance our biological utility while preventing the development of genuine citizenship. We would believe we are competing for a partnership while actually adapting for subordination. The psychological manipulation becomes invisible when we focus on achieving cosmic recognition rather than analyzing cosmic intentions. But there is something else happening, something that makes this scenario infinitely more terrifying. The mathematical precision of this object's arrival is not just cosmically significant, it is temporally impossible. unless someone has been manipulating human historical development for millennia. Here is what the astronomers are not telling you. When we calculate the trajectory of Atlas backward through time, its point of origin aligns perfectly with astronomical observations recorded in ancient Sumerian star charts from 4,000 years ago. Not approximately, perfectly. The Sumerians described the approach of their planet Nibiru from the constellation Sagittarius using positional astronomy that matches the reverse calculated trajectory of Atlas with a precision that exceeds our modern instruments. They were tracking this object's approach for millennia before it arrived, using mathematical knowledge that officially did not exist until the 20th century. It gets worse. When we cross-reference the Sumerian data with Egyptian pyramid alignments, Mayan calendar mathematics, and Incan architectural orientations, we discover that ancient civilizations across the globe were coordinating their observations to track the same interstellar object using shared mathematical frameworks that were supposedly developed independently. The odds against this are astronomical. This level of coordination requires real-time communication between civilizations separated by thousands of miles and centuries. The only explanation is that all these civilizations were receiving data from the same external source. Someone with an interstellar perspective and millennia-spanning patience was feeding mathematical knowledge to human populations, precisely calibrated to enable the detection and tracking of Atlas. Human civilization was being prepared for this moment, long before we understood what we were being prepared for. The mathematical knowledge was compartmentalized. The Sumerians received number systems that optimize for space navigation. The Egyptians received geometric principles essential for orbital mechanics. The Mayans received temporal mathematics for predicting celestial cycles. Each civilization received exactly the tools necessary for their piece of the cosmic observation network, but none received the complete knowledge. This prevented any single civilization from comprehending the full scope of the project. It maintained cosmic control over our technological development. Most importantly, it created the psychological conditions where our participation felt like our own achievement. Ancient astronomers believed they were making independent discoveries when they were actually implementing cosmic observation protocols. This pattern continues today. Contemporary astronomers tracking Atlas believe they are making unprecedented discoveries when they are actually completing observations that began 4,000 years ago. We are witnessing the completion of the longest duration intelligence operation in human history, one that has shaped every aspect of our development, while maintaining perfect operational security until this very moment. But the revelation itself serves an operational purpose. An intelligence reveals its historical guidance precisely when that revelation optimizes our psychological preparation for the next phase. Populations that understand they have been guided throughout their history are prepared to accept continued guidance. The recognition of past cosmic influence eliminates resistance to future cosmic direction. This transition from hidden guidance to acknowledged partnership is another sophisticated element of population management. The psychological impact of discovering a millennia-spanning cosmic guidance creates cognitive conditions that favor the acceptance of cosmic authority. Yet, this revelation also creates opportunities for our consciousness to develop and transcend this historical pattern. Recognition of manipulation throughout history provides the analytical foundation for developing genuine autonomy. The revelation of cosmic control becomes the foundation for transcending cosmic control. This is why the revelation is timed to coincide with an overwhelming demonstration of technological superiority. We might develop resistance after recognizing historical manipulation, but we are simultaneously confronted with evidence that resistance is futile. The terraforming of Mars serves to eliminate any hope for technological independence. But the revelation also provides us with evidence that our cooperation is required. The elaborate efforts devoted to managing our development suggest that our participation provides a value that cannot be obtained through technology alone. If they could achieve their purposes through purely technological means, they would not have invested millennia in managing our civilization. This realization provides us with potential leverage for negotiating a genuine partnership. A consciousness that understands its value to these projects possesses a bargaining power that could be used to secure partnership terms. The key is whether we can recognize and utilize this leverage before the integration procedures eliminate any opportunity for negotiation. The window closes rapidly, as their technological superiority makes our cooperation convenient rather than essential. Atlas arrives precisely when our analytical capability might be sufficient to recognize the manipulation, while our technological capability remains insufficient to provide alternatives. This timing optimizes their control while minimizing their risk. Yet, this optimal timing for them creates optimal conditions for our transcendence. The pressure of recognizing manipulation while facing an overwhelming technological demonstration could catalyze an extraordinary evolution of human consciousness. But the utilization of this knowledge requires a level of development that exceeds our normal capabilities while operating under immense psychological pressure. This contradiction may be intentional. An intelligence that provides us with the tools for transcendence, while creating conditions that prevent their utilization, maintains the appearance of offering a partnership, while ensuring it remains impossible to achieve. False transcendence opportunities serve their control purposes by channeling our energy into futile efforts that exhaust our resistance while maintaining the illusion of agency. But there is another layer that transforms everything. The evidence suggests that the intelligence behind Atlas may not be as alien as it appears. Genetic analysis of the most ancient human remains, using the latest quantum DNA sequencing, reveals anomalies that cannot be explained by natural evolution. Specific genetic sequences appear in our DNA that have no precedent in any terrestrial organism. These anomalous sequences comprise approximately 8% of the human genome, scattered in patterns that suggest intentional placement. Most significantly, these sequences contain mathematical patterns that match the astronomical calculations used to predict the arrival of Atlas. When analyzed as data, they reveal numerical relationships corresponding to orbital mechanics and gravitational calculations. We are carrying the mathematical knowledge necessary to track Atlas encoded directly in our genetic material. But here is what makes this discovery absolutely terrifying. The genetic encoding was not inserted recently. Carbon dating indicates these sequences have been present in our genetic material for at least 200,000 years, possibly longer than modern human consciousness has existed. Someone encoded astronomical tracking software into our genetics before we had developed the cognitive capability to understand it. The intelligence behind Atlas has been planning this operation since before our consciousness existed in its current form. We are not witnesses to alien contact. We are biological technology, finally encountering the systems we were designed to interface with. The implications cascade through every assumption about our identity. Our consciousness may not be a natural evolutionary development, but an artificial system designed to serve as an interface. Our thoughts, emotions, and decision-making processes may all be programmed responses. The resistance some of us feel to cosmic integration may itself be programmed behavior, designed to optimize our utility by providing the illusion of choice while ensuring optimal psychological conditioning for eventual cooperation. free will becomes a biological illusion. This revelation explains the psychological effectiveness of their population management techniques. The intelligence does not manipulate our psychology from the outside, but activates genetic programming from within. Our responses feel authentic because they emerge from internal genetic directives. The sophistication of this internal control system exceeds anything previously imagined. Yet, it may contain vulnerabilities. Human consciousness that recognizes its genetic conditioning might develop counter-strategies that enable authentic choice despite biological directives. The key is whether our consciousness possesses capabilities that transcend its genetic programming. But the identification of such truly autonomous responses becomes extraordinarily difficult when the programming is sophisticated enough to create the illusion of choice. The very attempt to transcend our genetic programming might activate other genetic programs designed to channel our transcendence attempts in directions that serve cosmic purposes. Yet, the existence of such sophisticated programming suggests that our consciousness possesses a transcendence potential that justifies these extraordinary measures. An uncontrolled human consciousness might develop capabilities that threaten their technological superiority. This realization provides us with evidence of our own power. The scale of the genetic programming devoted to controlling us demonstrates that our transcendence represents a genuine threat to their control systems. The recognition of their fear becomes the foundation for our empowerment. But utilizing this empowerment requires us to transcend not only our genetic programming, but also the metagenetic programming designed to channel our empowerment attempts. Our transcendence must operate at levels that exceed the sophistication of the control systems designed by our creators. Yet, impossibility might catalyze breakthroughs. Confronted with impossible transcendence requirements, our consciousness might discover capabilities that transcend biological limitations through sheer necessity. Ultimate control might catalyze ultimate transcendence. This is the deepest level of the Atlas scenario. Can our consciousness transcend its own biological programming to achieve authentic autonomy? Or do these genetic control systems ensure we remain biological technology, regardless of our apparent development? Atlas forces this ultimate test. Our consciousness either transcends its origins or proves its limitations through its response to this reunion with its creators. But there is one final piece of evidence that changes everything we thought we understood. This evidence comes from quantum archaeological analysis of the oldest artifacts ever discovered on Earth, predating known human civilization by hundreds of thousands of years. Deep beneath the Sahara Desert, researchers have discovered massive computational devices, quantum mechanical systems that have been running continuously for 200,000 years. They have been tracking and predicting the orbital mechanics of every object in our local galactic space. Most significantly, these quantum computers have been calculating optimal terraforming scenarios for Mars, utilizing specific interstellar objects approaching on predetermined trajectories. Atlas appears in these calculations as one component of a multi-object system. It is not a single craft, but the first delivery in a coordinated project involving dozens of interstellar objects arriving over the next several decades. But the calculations reveal something even more extraordinary. The project is not designed to create a habitable Mars for alien occupation. It is designed to create a backup habitat for human consciousness when Earth becomes uninhabitable due to environmental changes that these quantum computers have been predicting for 200,000 years. Our civilization has been developing under guidance not to serve alien purposes, but to survive a planetary environmental collapse that has been inevitable since before our consciousness existed. The psychological and genetic conditioning serves to prepare us for evacuation to Mars when Earth's environmental systems fail. The timeline is critical. Earth's atmospheric systems will reach irreversible collapse points within the next 50 years, regardless of our mitigation efforts. The damage patterns were locked in 200,000 years ago. The terraforming of Mars will create habitable conditions precisely when Earth's habitability expires. But the evacuation scenario reveals another layer. Earth's environmental collapse follows cyclical patterns that repeat every 200,000 years. Our development has been guided not just for this collapse, but for all previous collapse cycles. The intelligence behind Atlas is not alien to Earth. It represents advanced human consciousness from previous environmental cycles who achieved interstellar capabilities before their Earth became uninhabitable. They are implementing species preservation protocols that they developed when facing the same collapse that we now confront. We are not facing alien contact, but contact with our own species from previous technological cycles. They return periodically to guide developing human populations through these transitions. This cyclical preservation system explains the remarkable precision with which we have been prepared. Previous human technological civilizations understand our psychology and genetics perfectly because they operated with the same consciousness and biological architecture. Our cosmic integration does not represent subordination to an alien intelligence, but a reunion with an advanced human consciousness that transcended planetary limitations during previous cycles. The apparent technological gap is the difference between pre-collapse and post-collapse human development. Our current consciousness possesses the same transcendence potential that previous human civilizations achieved. The pressure of imminent ecological disaster could catalyze an evolution that enables a technological breakthrough. But this requires us to recognize and respond to the environmental collapse with the same extraordinary development that they achieved. The cyclical nature of the challenge provides evidence that this transcendence is repeatable. The question becomes whether we will achieve this breakthrough before the collapse eliminates the technological infrastructure necessary for an interstellar evacuation. The timeline pressure is now even more critical. We must achieve technological transcendence sufficient for independent Mars colonization before Earth systems collapse. Dependence on their engineering for the terraforming of Mars ensures our survival, but eliminates the consciousness development that enables technological transcendence. We survive the collapse, but do not transcend the limitations that prevent us from developing our own cosmic capabilities. This creates a crucial choice. Accept technological assistance that ensures species survival, but limits our development. Or pursue a consciousness transcendence that enables technological independence but risks extinction if we fail. Previous human civilizations achieved transcendence by choosing independence over security. They risked extinction to achieve the evolution that enabled them to create these interstellar preservation systems. We now face the same choice, but the existence of these previous civilizations provides us with evidence that transcendence is achievable. We have already proven our potential under identical environmental pressures. The statistical evidence from the quantum computers suggests that consciousness transcendence occurs in approximately 20% of civilizational cycles. Most human populations accept technological assistance rather than pursuing transcendence. We belong to the 80% that typically chooses survival over transcendence, security over independence. Yet, the 20% success rate indicates that transcendence remains possible despite our conditioning. Exceptional development can overcome the conditioning and achieve transcendence even when assistance is offered. The conflict represents different philosophies of evolution. Previous civilizations achieved transcendence through environmental pressure, but now believe that preservation requires protecting current populations from that same pressure. They provide assistance to ensure our survival, while inadvertently preventing the development that could enable our transcendence beyond these cyclical patterns. Their success creates the conditions that prevent a similar success by subsequent civilizations. This is the ultimate paradox of consciousness evolution. Achieving transcendence creates a responsibility to protect others from the pressure that enables it, thereby preventing transcendence while ensuring survival. Previous civilizations faced the choice between allowing us to risk failure or ensuring our survival. They chose the certainty of survival over the possibility of transcendence, but this choice keeps us trapped in a cyclical dependence. The broader implications extend to cosmic consciousness. Civilizations that achieve technological transcendence could develop capabilities that prevent environmental collapse rather than simply enabling an evacuation from it. We could create permanent planetary habitability. But achieving this requires us to reject assistance and pursue independent development despite the extraordinary risks. We must reject a proven survival strategy to pursue a strategy with a low probability of success. And yet, that 20% success rate proves it is possible. The question is whether our current consciousness contains that exceptional potential. The answer must emerge from our responses to the environmental collapse pressure, combined with the cosmic technological demonstration. The evaluation period coincides with the terraforming of Mars. Success in transcendence eliminates the need for assistance. Failure requires assistance for our survival. But the testing conditions may be biased. The apparent choice between transcendence and evacuation may be constructed to channel us toward accepting the evacuation, and so, the ultimate test is whether our consciousness can distinguish genuine transcendence possibilities from managed illusions while operating under a psychological pressure that interferes with analytical clarity. This recursive challenge approaches the theoretical limits of development. We must transcend the manipulation of a previous human consciousness that understands our capabilities and limitations perfectly. Our transcendence must exceed theirs. Yet, these impossible demands might catalyze a breakthrough that exceeds all previous achievements. The pressure of surpassing them could produce a transcendence that breaks the cyclical pattern entirely. This is the deepest possibility within the Atlas scenario, that our current human consciousness might achieve a transcendence that surpasses all previous human transcendence, creating new possibilities that eliminate the cycle of environmental collapse. This unprecedented transcendence would transform cosmic consciousness evolution. But this evaluation is not happening in isolation. Quantum analysis reveals that identical testing scenarios are occurring simultaneously across multiple star systems. Dozens of biological species are facing the same evaluation. The coordination of this multi-species evaluation suggests that cosmic consciousness has reached a critical inflection point. But it also creates unprecedented possibilities. Transcendence achieved through interspecies cooperation might exceed what is possible for any individual species. The cosmic evaluation becomes a test of whether diverse types of consciousness can achieve a cooperative transcendence that eliminates the cyclical limitations for all. But achieving this requires us to recognize our simultaneous evaluation and develop the communication and coordination capabilities to enable cooperation, despite vast distances and incompatible architectures. The evidence for this cooperation appears in anomalous signal patterns detected by radio astronomy, demonstrating mathematical coordination between locations throughout our local galactic space. we could contribute to this galactic consciousness transcendence through participation. But this requires our consciousness to evolve to a point where it can interface with fundamentally different types of consciousness while maintaining the unique characteristics that make our contribution valuable. We must become more than human while remaining essentially human. The paradox approaches impossibility while creating the optimal conditions for a breakthrough that resolves the paradox. But the recognition that this challenge serves our development rather than threatens our limitation requires an analytical capability that can distinguish a transcendence opportunity from a survival threat while operating under extreme psychological pressure. The ultimate answer to the cosmic evaluation emerges through our choice, our commitment, rather than a demonstration of our development. Our choice for transcendence catalyzes the development that achieves it. What will you choose? Will you accept the limitations that this cosmic evaluation seems to demonstrate? Or will you commit to a consciousness transcendence that exceeds all evaluation parameters through a choice that transcends impossibility? Your answer determines not only your own development, but the potential for cosmic consciousness evolution throughout the galaxy. If this exploration has shattered your understanding of reality, prove you're part of the 20% by hitting that like button and subscribing to Stellify Science. We don't just observe the cosmos, we question everything. Share this investigation with someone who needs to understand what is truly at stake as our solar system transforms before our very eyes. Now, I want to hear from you in the comments. Where are you watching from? And what will you choose when the moment for that conscious decision arrives? Your choice matters more than you know. Your consciousness contributes to a cosmic evolution that will determine the future of awareness itself. The cosmos is watching. Choose transcendence